And welcome in, everybody, to another episode of the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us here on this Wednesday evening, or if it happens to be one of your favorite places to catch podcasts later on in the week. As you know, we are the only sports podcast. Well, you know what? I'm not even going to change that. I can guarantee you we are not the least athletic sports podcast on the internet right now, in spite of recent things that have circulated on the Twitter sphere and seeing certain people run. So we got that going for us so far. It is DJ joined, as always, by my co-host, Kelsey. And there wasn't a whole lot of doubt. I figured there was plenty, much more unathletic than we are. But it's in video writing, quote unquote. We are not the least athletic sports podcasters online, thanks to Twitter videos this week.
Yeah, you've seen us kick footballs. You've seen us play flag football. Like one of us is more rotund than the other, and we've both gotten injured doing both things. But you know what? We did not look that unathletic, nonetheless. So I felt pretty good. Like I'm actually kind of surprised you went there. I wasn't going to talk about that, but yeah, I think that's a very good point that we are the not least athletic of all of the sports podcast out there.
I'm excited considering, like you said, when I tried to play flag football back in the day, my ankle ended up exploding. So we're hoping I can do. We're gonna try and play again this year. Not the fantasy football expo. I'm joining a fantasy league this year, a fantasy flag football league this year, and I'm hoping that I can. If I look like that when I'm running, just take me out behind the shed. It's over. It's over, Captain. It's Jover. Just take me out behind the woodshed.
Yeah, look, all I'm gonna say, if wages were based on athleticism, we'd be getting paid a whole lot more money to do this than we currently are. That's what I understood from that information that I watched all on the Twitter sphere this weekend.
Either that or others would be getting paid a whole lot less.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair too. But I would like us to get paid more. That's at the end of the day what I'm hoping for.
Hey, rising tide lifts all ships. That's what we're going for here. But you know what? There's some of these ships that were not lifted this week, for worse and for better, depending on how you look at it. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. The first part of our show is known as the tip-off, which is presented by SeatGeek. Use code BellyUp Sports, get yourself $20 off your first set of tickets, whether it's for a concert, sporting event, festival, comedy show, anything that requires tickets. Use code BellyUp Sports and get yourself $20 off your first purchase. And we're going to head to the association to start the show off. Is the trade deadline will be over the day after this recording, but a lot of the moves are already very much well in place. We're gonna touch on a few of them because there's a handful of them. Like I'll go Vucevic to the Celtics, like the move for the Celtics. There's a few smaller ones like that, but we're gonna focus on the big ones, including I'm gonna just call this one the doozy. James Harden is heading to Cleveland. Darius Garland is heading to the Clippers, along with a second-round pick in his back pocket. Is the two All-Star cards being swapped? Two teams that are playing each other in about 2 hours from the time of this recording. So that's always fun. I don't know if Harden and Garland are playing or if they're just going to sit them. Harden, I don't know what's going on because he wasn't playing much for the Clippers recently due to some decision-making is what we will call it. But I'll rip the Band-Aid off on this one. I kind of hate this trade. Like, I really don't like it, really, for either side. I'll start with for the Cavs. I understand you don't have to trade Darius Garland, but it is in the best interest to trade him right now. Him and Donovan Mitchell do a lot of the same things. They're undersized, offensively gifted, defensively limited guards. Having both of them in the backcourt really does limit you, especially playoff time. We see a little bit of where that comes back to bite you in the butt sometimes. And the toe injury, that damn toe is really taking a number on Garland this last year and a half. It only played 26 games this year. Cost him a lot in the playoffs last year to the point where they were targeted. The Pacers were basically saying, anyone who's guarded by Garland, go after him. Basically, that's what they're. So I understand moving Garland because Donovan Mitchell's top 12 player in the world, and they're very similar. You're going to You're going to keep Donovan Mitchell, try and extend him, build around him. But what is James Harden known for? Offense, dribbling the air out of the ball, and not being just short of a turnstile on defense. And that was in his heyday 8 years ago. Now you're trading Garland, who's a 26-year-old All-Star, for a 37-year-old James Harden, who is perpetually known. I don't want to call him a quitter because that's a strong word, but how many times has he demanded a trade from a team when the going gets a little shaky? Even right now, when the Clippers are on like a 19 of the last 20 win streak or something asinine, that's an exaggeration. It's probably like 18 of 21, but it's still outstanding. The Clippers are finally cooking. And then you do this. I don't love it. Harden's up for a new deal. Mitchell has one more year left on his deal too. I don't love this. If I'm the Cavaliers and I want to do a trade and I'm going to move Garland, I would have liked it. I know that said they called about Giannis, quote unquote. They should have called the Bucks and said, you can't have Mitchell. You can't have Mobley. Take whatever the hell else you want. Take Garland, take Allen, take Strus, take Lonzo, and take every pick that you can fit in both of your pockets and your wagon. That's what the move I think they should have made. If it was possible, I don't know if it was possible. Maybe they did try and the Bucks said no. But you're telling me Donovan, Giannis, and Mobley, I don't care who else is in the lineup as long as they have a pulse. Throw me out there and Mister can't run very fast, and anybody else in between. They're going to the finals out of the East. So I don't love this move. And if you're going to pick up, I worry about James Harden, especially when the going gets tough and in the playoffs, because historically speaking, he has been great. And what the Cavs need is somebody to get you over the hump. I would have liked maybe to go after a different type of piece, different type of guard. Some of the other trades they made balance out, like Schroeder and some of Ellis to play defense a little bit, but it's okay for this year, I guess. Like if this year go all in, if Harden's locked in and can play facilitator / catch and shoot, can play option 2.5 to 3. Like it's obviously Donovan Mitchell 1, maybe Mobley 2 on any given night, and then Harden just needs to throw lobs to Jared Allen because Jared Allen doesn't get his own offense quite as often. Shoot some threes, spread the floor, then it could work. And if he's not a turnstile, but I don't love it. And I think Garland, I know his trade value was low because of the injuries, but I feel like you could have got a little more. I don't know. I'm not in the room, but my first initial reaction was, how hard did you try for Giannis? I hope they offered everything short of a blank check. I hope they offered the Browns in exchange for it at this point, which ironic, same owner, so it doesn't work. But I've rambled enough about this one. We'll see how it works. I think the Cavs are still a top 2 team to get out of the East with Harden, and I think him being hopefully healthier will help, but I still don't love it. I'm still not sure about it. I need to see it.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm looking at this from the other perspective. I feel like this was the Clippers going and making a move to try to improve their squad going forward more than this was the Cavaliers making a move. We think of the Cavaliers because they've been recently good, but if we compare them this season, it's pretty much dead even, if not the Clippers slightly better. I mean, the Cavs are 5th in the East right now. It's not like they're doing great. It's not been a great cohesive unit for whatever reason, due to injuries, due to whatever reason you want to make it for the backcourt in Cleveland. And any one of them you choose, yeah, you're probably close to the truth. But it, honestly, it doesn't seem like this is the best idea. Let's go get a ball hogging 3-point shooting, flopping James Harden with a beard. Um, and let's hope that works with Donovan Mitchell, who slashes and shoots a ton of threes and is very ball dominant. And oh, by the way, we brought the one of 2 guys to be averaging 10 points and 5 assists off the bench all season long, and Dennis Schroeder onto the team. So he's now going to be taking a ton of shots too. It doesn't make a lot of sense when you look at it from a perspective of like, what are you trying to build? Especially when you have a young guy in Tyson who looks to be building well for the Cavs. And maybe that's kind of the logic is he's going to start with Mitchell, which doesn't make sense because you just brought in James Harden and you just brought in Dennis Schroeder, 2 guys who one of them has started and the other one's come off the bench. Take your pick per season. But yeah, this is to me more about the Clippers just getting better. And I think they looked at an opportunity if they can get a fully healthy Darius Garland, it's not as expensive. And also, it will be potentially better in the long run. And that second round pick, we talked about drafts for the NBA not really meaning much. Honestly, second round draft picks can get you a 12th man on the team, can get you an 11th man on the team, can sometimes get you a 7th man rotation guy. But it's potential, I think, for the Clippers more so than it's skill now for James. I think that's kind of what I look at with it is like the Cleveland Cavaliers need it now. And Darius Garland is too hit or miss for them to be successful. And that's the only reason I think this makes sense. Honestly, I don't like it. This was like, I saw the news and I was like, this is stupid. I'm turning my TV off today because that's how, I mean, I live 30 minutes from Cleveland. So you better believe I'm not going to any more Cavs game the rest of the season because we know I don't like James Harden. So I don't want to support that situation. But yeah, I don't know. I look at this as a situation where it's the Clippers trying to make themselves better. And then look, the Cavaliers seem to be in fire sale mode for whatever reason right now, given all the rumors going out today about 3 more players potentially being traded. It doesn't make a lot of sense, whatever they're doing, because it's not like they were terrible. I know you're not second in the East like you'd expect, but 5th in the East is still not a play-in game, so you're still pretty good. I don't love it one way or the other. This is like my least exciting of the trades so far down close to the trade deadline. So, yeah, that is what it is.
I will say too, it sounds like this is an anti-James Harden fest right now. I will give him the credit though. He's averaging 25 and 8 this year, and he's still
Oh,
been
yeah.
very effective. Like he's still been good. And I think on paper, adding him back there, I just wonder how the mesh is gonna fit with a
It
Donovan Mitchell and
yeah.
Mobley and those guys. Like that, the fit is what worries me. If you can get 20, I think it's 23 James Harden with the Sixers, where he was averaging like 22 and 11 or something like that. Just basically going through, I think that's Embiid's MVP year where he was the complimentary star until the playoffs where it did what it does. Then I think that's where it could work. But what if the Cavs had the issue with the last few years? The playoffs, getting over that hump. What has Harden done in his career? Well, 1/5 of his playoff games, he's had less than 5 made field goals. That's not great.
His best run was 6 men on the bench for the OKC Thunder. That was his best run in the playoffs of his career. And honestly, that James Harden was fantastic. We have not seen that James Harden playing offense and defense since then, for whatever reason. And that's why I don't like him as much. It's like I've seen the capability of the guy, and now I'm just like watching. I'm going to ignore defense and only play offense, James Harden. And I'm like, you're good, you're thick, you can do the things that most guards can't on defense on the defensive end. Do that, and yeah, then the Cavs can win. That's why he continues to struggle getting over the hump, is because he can't get over the hump against equally talented point guards in the playoffs. And you see Donovan Mitchell, and the same questions are raised around Donovan Mitchell too when it comes to the defensive end. And the one thing Darius Garland did well, especially in the playoffs, was even if he didn't put up 15, 20 points a game, he was still guarding the best point guard out, the best guard on the other team. And it may not have been pretty every night, but it was better than what was happening on the other side. So yeah, I don't love this from the situation of like, you're just like it feels like you didn't net positive if you're the Cavs. If you're the Clippers, I feel like you netted positive, just barely, but you netted positive. I think from the Cavs perspective, it's net neutral, if not net negative. Given all the other moves you're also making too, it definitely is net negative.
We're gonna have a real clash of styles come playoff time. We have James Harden, who's known for not doing so well in the playoffs, and Donovan Mitchell, who is known for elevating his game in the playoffs to astronomical levels with some of the most 50-point games ever. So as long as he doesn't get in the way of that, that's where I think it could be effective. As long as you don't have to depend on Mitchell getting you 50 points just to lose to a Tyrese Halliburton Hail Mary.
Yeah, I mean, look, you remember the Jazz games when you had Donovan Mitchell scoring 25, 30, and then you had somebody coming off the bench like Jordan Clarkson scoring 25 or 20. That's the kind of James Harden you can expect. You just need somebody to fill the in-between gap to play defense. Yes, that's what needs to happen. And honestly, they probably shouldn't be on the court at the same time because they're going to be too ball dominant for each other. And I hope I'm wrong. I really do hope I'm wrong. But
if we are wrong, I think the Cavs are going to the finals and can put up a shot against anybody, even whether it's the Nuggets, the Thunders. If we're wrong, I think they put up a shot against anybody, a legit shot.
The problem is they got to get through the Pistons anyways, and that's not easy for them at all right now.
If we're wrong, I think they get through the Pistons. If we're right, Pistons are going to the finals. That's how I kind of looking at it right now. I think it'll be very interesting. That is for sure. I do like that move getting Ellis from the Kings, though. I think he can add a lot of that defense that they are missing. How they will stagger those minutes, that'll be interesting. We'll see how they balance that out. Schroeder can just come off the field and be feisty, get some buckets here and there. So they got some players. We'll see. The trade deadline's still technically not over, and we'll see how
still got 24 hours.
We'll see. There's plenty to go, but it's not the only trade we've had so far that is of note. We're gonna go to the one that really. My cousin's a Wizards fan, and this one had him basically like, what? What just happened? So Anthony Davis is still coming in with quite a haul. Anthony Davis, Jaden Hardy, D'Angelo Russell, Dante Exum heading to the nation's capital in exchange for Chris Middleton, AJ Johnson, Malachi Branham, Marvin Bagley III, and 5 picks, including a 2026 first rounder from OKC, 2030 first rounder from Golden State, top 20 protected, 2026 second rounder from Phoenix, 27 second rounder from Chicago, and 29 second round pick from Houston. When I first saw this trade, I was like, what are the Wizards thinking? Oh my gosh. Looking at what they got in, what they had to give up, a bunch of meh picks. OKC's pick isn't, I'm willing to bet right now it's not necessarily going to be a great pick.
Like 25, 26.
2030 pick from Golden State that's top 20 protected. So even if Golden State falls off the rails after we presume Steph will retire by 2030, but we'll see it's protected. Second round picks. And you get Anthony Davis, who, okay, his highlight reel for this year is mostly him wearing a sweatshirt on the sideline. So we haven't seen a lot of the highlights this year. But I don't actually hate this trade for the Wizards after all. D'Angelo Russell, Dante Exum, it puts them in a weird spot because right now I felt like they were on the OKC track with some really good picks recently, like Sarr last year. I thought they were kind of on upward trajectory. This doesn't really throw it off because they kept their pick. So if they continue to kind of stink but look promising this year, Trae Young and Anthony Davis aren't even playing right now anyway, so it's not like they're going to throw off things right now. Maybe you get them in. This could be interesting. You know, I don't hate this trade as much. It's weird. It's definitely weird, but I don't hate it as much because if you can get, gosh, I can't believe I'm about to say this. You can get 38 good games from Anthony Davis for the Wizards and you space them out properly, you can make a playoff run in the East, especially because they got some good young players. So it's weird. I don't hate it as much as I did initially, but I don't like it. And then if you're the Mavericks, the Luka trade just keeps on punching you in the nuts every year. All that you gave up for Anthony Davis, and he doesn't even. This is what you get in return, unless you get what Marvin Bagley III was supposed to be 8 years ago when he came out. If you can get that version of what he was when he was taken number 2 overall, what the potential is supposed to be, then maybe. But yeah, I'm sorry, Mavericks fans. I don't mostly because of the Cowboys fans. I don't really say much about Dallas sports fandom overall, but now I feel for you. For the Mavericks fan in this regard, I feel for y'all. This is painful.
Yeah, this I okay, I'm going to go on record as saying 4-player trades are the dumbest thing I've ever seen in my life. Because you are literally trading 4 out of your 5 starters or role players or mixed players.
In this case, mostly bench players or injured players.
Yeah, well, for the Wizards, these are starters.
Most of them are actually bench.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But okay, if we put a number on them, 3 through 7 on your roster of rotation number of minutes, and then for the Wizards or for the Mavericks, you're now getting rid of 2 guys that start: Dante Exum, who plays minutes off the bench, and Jaden Hardy, who, well, yeah, he's growing into his role. But I look at this as a potential. This is another one. I think this is a potential trade for the Wizards that works out way too well because if you can get 38 good games, you mentioned, out of Anthony Davis, he also doesn't have to play center anymore. Alex Sarr is there, so Alex Sarr will be playing center. So AD gets to go to his preferred power forward role. Kaishan George, who has been playing fantastic, Trey Johnson, Sharif Cooper, who I've always been a fan of, and he just needed an opportunity, is playing with the Wizards. So not even counting Trey Young yet. Then we talk Trey Young getting healthy. D'Angelo, Dante Exum off the bench can play defense and score with the best of them. This team looks a lot scarier than they should for being a Wizards team. And this is like a great move for them if the potential exceeds reality. Like if you can excel beyond what the current reality is, I think that works exceptionally well for the Wizards. For the Mavericks, the first round picks, I again, 26 through 30 pick on your pick numbers is not going to be great for you. You might get lucky and get the 21st pick overall with the Golden State pick. But other than that, your first round picks are not going to be pretty. Your second round picks aren't going to really produce more than what the Wizards were already producing. So, yeah, if you're the Wizards, I think you won this from just name value, but you also won this from potential value. I've washed my hands of Marvin Bagley as a Kings fan. So, honestly, I just like great 7th man,
Maybe 8th.
maybe 10th, maybe 12th on a
Great
two-way
man.
rotation. But where are you going to put Marvin Bagley, Chris Middleton, and Cooper Flag together at? And then you still have bigs on your roster that start.
Daniel Gafford's still there. It's basically at this point, it's like Cooper Flag, Davis just be awesome. That's
it's like Cooper Flag, Chris Middleton are probably going to be, your 2 forwards along with Daniel out there. And then Marvin Bagley might give you like 5 to 10 minutes a game. And you're just going to be hoping and praying that your team can figure it out. And it just doesn't seem to be that way for Dallas. And I don't know what they were thinking. I picked them to sneak their way into the playoffs. I don't know if this is a move that's going to sneak them into the playoffs because at least with D'Angelo and at least with AD, it seemed to have chances. And now it doesn't seem like they have a lot of chances. Hopefully Clay can hit vintage Clay and score 56 points on 7 dribbles from now on because this is getting, it's a lot of hope and prayer now for the rest of the season for the Mavericks fans.
Not including a play-in potential, the Mavericks are 8 wins behind 8th place, so they have a chance. If I'm the Wizards, though, we're going to do a conspiracy theory here, what the Wizards should do. You have 13 wins, and you are 12 games out of that 8th spot by the same scenario. Trey and Anthony Davis, you're not playing this year. We stink. We're letting the young guys play, get their experience. We're not tanking. We're just going to let the young guys learn, probably get a really good draft pick. You're both coming in fully healthy, ready to roll next year, where we're going to have Trey Young, Sarr, Anthony Davis, a potential top 5 pick in the lineup, George, Cooper is going to be involved. That we're going to be a unit next year, and even we're going to be ready to roll next year. This year's over. It's over. We're not going to try and go on an epic run down the stretch. We're not going to risk Anthony Davis getting hot then getting hurt again right when we need him for the playoff run. We're not going to risk Trey Young getting truck sticked by Derrick Henry or something like that. We're not risking any of this. We're letting the young guys play out the rest of the year. You guys, you're getting paid. We'll see you next year. Stay healthy, stay in shape, be in a bubble. We're cooking next year. Not entirely, but like it's not too egregious if I'm the Wizards thinking about it, because you are 12 games behind the 8th seed and you have 13 wins.
Look,
You need to double your win total.
All I'm gonna say is whatever they decide to do, it'll still be a better product than the Kyle Kuzma, Jordan Payne led Wizards.
Things are looking up in Washington, that's for sure. Better than they are for Dallas. That is for sure. Like
I won't go as far as to say it's Agent Gill level Washington Wizards, but man, this Wizards team is shaping up to be something interesting.
Not quite Agent Zero, not quite hustle and flow with Wall and Beal, but like, you know what? The prospects look really nice. And Anthony Davis is 32. You're not banking on him long term. You're kind of banking on him intermediate, so you can win early and then win often. Is what that bridge. It feels like a bridge-ish move to get into the playoffs at least, while the young guys hopefully get you over the top. So we'll see. And Trae Young's not old, but he's not young, but he's not old either, pun intended. But the third big I'm going to call this the bigger surprise trade of the day. The Jazz getting Jaren Jackson Jr. from the Grizzlies in an 8-player trade. You thought you hated 4-player trades. So the Memphis Grizzlies continuing to tear things down. All that's missing is John Morant getting traded next. But Walter Clayton for the Grizzlies. Love it. Kyle Anderson, Taylor Hendricks, George Nang. Don't love it. 3 future first-round picks. Like it. Jazz get Jaren Jackson Jr., John Kachar, Jock Landale, Vince Williams Jr. Obviously for Memphis, that's great because you've conceded, all right, we had our run. It was 1.5 years. It was great. Then Ja lost his mind. Taylor Jenkins lost the locker room. Jaren Jackson, very good, but we put too much on his shoulders. Desmond Bane's biceps can only do so much. If you're the Grizzlies, I don't mind this. The Jazz, I don't get the move.
I don't get it.
Like, you're not in a position to really do anything, I guess. You're still, like, right now, you're in the middle of your own reload. You have, I mean, let me see. They're 13th. They're 16 wins, like 13th in the West. They're not going anywhere, really. Like Jaren Jackson, like Lauri Markkanen, don't know how they fit together. Very, very weird fit, unless you're going to kick one of them to center and then they're out of position, unless one's going to play small
They can't even
forward.
put somebody at center. They have Walker Kessler there.
Then Jaren Jackson's going to be playing small forward, or what? Maybe you're going to put Lauri Markkanen at small forward, where it's a freakishly tall small forward. It can work. It's a very interesting fit, and I don't know. It feels kind of weird because that's a lot of picks for when you're rebuilding and reloading. I like it for the Grizzlies, though, because I think Walter Clayton can play in this league. I think he's going to be around and be able to play for a while. All-star, maybe not, but I think he's a good player. And you have conceded, yeah, we're a mess. We're just going to tear this apart and rebuild it. Someone take John Morant off our hands, and then it will be complete. Our turn to the dark side will be complete. And I mean, I'm intrigued. You know, the Jazz are interesting. I will say I am interested to see how that giant-ass lineup is going to look once everyone gets in there.
You know, we started the season talking about the Rockets being the largest lineup that they could possibly put out here. I'm going to have to recant that statement now if the Jazz roll out a lineup with Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Yusuf Nurkic in it. Also, they have Kyle Filipowski on their team, who are all center-listed players. All of them are center-listed. I know this says forward on the screen. They are listed as a center for Jaren Jackson Jr. So you have 5 starter or positive minutes level players on your team that are centers.
Plus Ace Bailey, who's 6'9" rookie.
You have Ace Bailey, small forward, Keontae George at point guard. You have Kevin Love on the bench, who has, I think, played 1 game. So
no, he's been playing minutes. He's been getting out there.
All right, there you go. But you also have Isaiah Collier, which I think is a very interesting piece. Bryce Sensabaugh is a small forward who's also like 6'9", 6'10". You have a very large lineup potential. But I got to be honest, outside of Lauri Markkanen, Walker Kessler, and Jaren, they're young and they need experience. And I get that. And I think that's all the Jazz are trying to do. But how do you piece together a point guard and 4 6'9" plus guys? I don't know how that's going to work.
And then your bench guys are Nurkic and Kevin Love. Like, if this was 2019, that would be a powerhouse front court. But I don't know.
Like Walter Clayton Jr. had all the makings of something useful. Georges Niang is always going to be that 3-and-D type of guy. Kyle Anderson, I know he's slow motion, but you know what? He was efficient. And maybe this is a cost dumping measure, but you got to take on Jaren Jackson's contract now. So it's not like that's a level up for you anyways. Memphis did you no favors with that contract. So, yeah, I don't like this from either perspective, but I guess I like it a little more from the Grizzlies' perspective of like, we'll just survive another year. We'll go back to being hustle and grind next year because right now we're just trying to get John Morant off our books. But it also gets Jaren Jackson out of Memphis, and I think that was the best move for Jaren Jackson's future. Not that
I wish
Utah's
they
a
would have.
better move though.
It was almost a lateral move, but a little more upside at least. And if nothing else, he can be like, I'm not playing center to get one of the other 8 guys.
He doesn't have to play.
They can rotate.
He doesn't have to play against the Utah Jazz fans anymore. So now he doesn't have to deal with the negatives of being an opposing player coming into Utah and dealing with that situation.
Granted, now he has to deal with it from being a player. If he has a bad night, then it's almost just as bad.
Oh, they don't hate on their own players when they have a bad night usually.
And if you have a bad week, then maybe we'll see. They can get ruthless depending on how it's going. If they could have kept Walter Clayton, I think that would have been ideal. I think he would fit ideally with this type of role, but obviously Grizzlies probably looked at like, yeah, we want a guy that we know can create a shot and can put up shots at least. I think he's going to be a really good.
We need the guy that won a college title for Florida.
We need a guy who can get buckets, basically. Well, all the other stuff that's the other shortcomings, don't care. He can get a bucket. That's what we'll take. But let us know down below what you all think of some of these trades. There's plenty of other ones. We won't get into all of them because, well, we got some other stuff we got to get into today. But it's been a very busy day. Before we get into there, though, John Morant, Giannis, still as of the time of this recording, not quite traded. Do you think they get moved? And if so, where to?
John Morant, I think, gets moved one way or the other. Where I think Ja lands, I think it's going to be somebody who just left somebody. I do find the Raptors as an interesting piece because they did just acquire Chris Paul, but at the same time, they're in immediate conversations of trading everything they just traded.
They just said you do not have to report Chris Paul. So
they just contract dumped, and now they have all this space, and they have a John Morant sitting out there. I don't think Giannis makes that trip up north, but so it would make sense if somebody like John Morant went, who is a bigger contract guy who needs someplace to land, and he could fit alongside Brandon Ingram potentially. So that's an interesting place where I could see him going. And they do need a point guard. It would help with OG.
And Scotty.
Yeah. So I do think that could be a possibility. For Giannis, at this point in time, it feels like it's going to be a grandfather move. Like he's going to get grandfathered into the Warriors or grandfathered into the Lakers or grandfathered into some insert really good team here that should not get you ever anymore. But yeah, that seems like how we're going. And but I honestly don't know if he ends up getting moved. But I know the Doc effect is coming into play, and he's probably going to get moved for his own personal sake. He's going to just push his way out one way or the other.
I still feel like unless it comes out proven otherwise, I feel like the Cavs was the best move for everything involved. And I don't think that's really an option now because Garland was still a 26-year-old all-star point guard. That was some leverage to the Bucks who need a lot. And if you offer them that, Jared Allen, a bunch of picks, and Strus and some other players, obviously. But like those were the two main pieces I think you could have made a sell for, which isn't really an option now. Maybe the Warriors is the one that's had the most smoke, so maybe that's what it's going to be. It's there or nowhere. That feels like the one with the most smoke. But I don't know. Maybe the Spurs coming out of nowhere since they have a lot of options, and just him and Wemby would just be stupid hilarious because good luck everybody else getting to the rim. But yeah, I don't know. It feels almost like it's going to be an offseason move at this point. I feel like I don't know. It just feels like it's going to be an offseason move.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Yeah, it's just like so hard to see him pairing with Doc for the rest of the season. You talk about a convenient sit or convenient injury situation. And honestly, I think if he has to be stuck in Milwaukee for the rest of the season, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a convenient back spasm situation that pops up.
Maybe the Bucks decide to just randomly go get John Morant. Like, all right, Giannis, one last ditch effort here. You and John Morant, let's see what happens. Don't worry, we'll keep his guns away from him. I don't know. Maybe they'll change his Call of Duty Xbox gamer tag or something. I don't know.
I'm going to be very clear. I'm not talking Giannis is going to take the days off. It's not going to be a Giannis choice out of that. Giannis is not a player that's going to do that. It's going to be a front office Doc Rivers situation because he has done that with superstars in the past who weren't traded at the deadline, who obviously aren't part of the future of the team. He's done that before, so it wouldn't be a shock.
What we have learned in the last 7 or so years is shout out to the 08 Celtics. That team was even better than we gave that credit for. Is what it seems like. They seem awfully good now in hindsight.
That KG aura must have been better than everything else that we thought.
Something about Jesus Shuttlesworth in the backcourt just made everything a little bit better. But let us know down below what your thoughts are on the trade deadline so far and where you all think Giannis or Ja will get moved to. But that's not going to take us into the main event. And for the main event, we are talking, well, you know exactly what we're talking about. We're talking about the Super Bowl. We are breaking down the Super Bowl position by position, right down to giving our picks for the big game. We're going to start right away with, some might say, the most important position, but with these two teams, not necessarily always the case. We're talking about the quarterbacks, the signal callers, the matchup we all expected back in August. Sam Darnold, with his second team in 2 years, winning 14 games, is heading to the Super Bowl to take on the New England Patriots, led by Drake May, who would be the youngest quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl if he pulls it off. Kelsey, where are we giving the advantage to with Seahawks, Patriots at the quarterback?
All right. My mind tells me one thing and my heart's telling me something completely different. If we go purely off of like MVP grade and all that stuff, it's Drake May. He's the just statistically gives that nod. If we go go off of just complete impact on the team and what he's been able to do, it's Sam Darnold. And I don't think it's a question in my mind who's had a greater impact on their team this season. And I'm going to go with my heart for once, and I'm not going to go with the stats. And I'm going to say Sam Darnold, and I'm going to give the man the respect he's deserved for the last 2 seasons, and nobody's been willing to give him. That man deserves his flowers. And by the way, California Sam gets to play again, and we all know he knows how to ball in that Sunshine State. So it's going to be very interesting to see. But I think statistically it is Drake May, but impact for his team, it is definitely Sam Darnold to me.
If you'd asked me this before the playoff run, it was a no-brainer to me. It was definitely Drake May. Like, he had been the co-leader of that team, winning 14 games. It would be second MVP, earned all of it. The ultimate consistency quarterback. Never too many nuclear games besides picking on the Jets with 5 touchdowns in a game, but never a bad game either. Like, he was almost the same every single week. There was never a bad game, but just like there was never a crazy game. He has one 300-yard game in his career. But it's wildly consistent and leading in completion percentage, all that. But the fact that they've won 3 playoff games against elite defenses without him having to do a whole lot besides make a play here or a play there makes it very interesting. And then Sam, first game against the 49ers, well, that game was statistically and scorely over after the opening kickoff, because after that 7 points, the Niners never got past 6. So that game could have been over if Sam Darnold threw the ball directly into the ground the rest of the game. That's tough. But then against the Rams, he was spectacular. He was incredible.
And he's been like that, right? If it hasn't been carried by that defense, it's been Sam that's been carrying it. And that's why for me, I'm like,
it's closer than it should be. I'm gonna go with Drake because I think the sample size this year as a whole was a little bit stronger. While Sam was awesome, he did lead the NFL in turnovers technically still.
Yep.
That being said, he's awesome, and I don't want to sound like a knock on Sam. It's more just Drake May's consistency, steady factor. And if the Patriots are going to win, Drake can't have the same last few games that he's had. You can't have like the 4 or 5 fumbles, 3 lost. You can't have 40 yards at halftime. You can't. He has to play really, really good. He has to play like Drake May for them to have a chance. I don't think they get away with 10-7 this week.
No. And look, I being very clear, Drake May statistically is the better quarterback, and there's no doubt about that. I mean, you just 72% completion rate, Sam Darnold 67.7. Yardage, Drake May 4,394 yards in the season passing, Sam 4,048. Yards per attempt 8.9 for Drake, 8.5 for Sam. 31 touchdowns to 8 interceptions for Drake, 25-14 for Sam. Rushing attempts, it's not even like rushing yards, it's not even close. 450 for Drake May, 95 for Darnold. No touchdowns rushing for Sam, 4 for Drake. It's like, obviously the guy has been a great quarterback in the regular season, but we're not in the regular season anymore. And Mike Vrabel has some manhood on the line here. So I'm for his sake, I hope it's Sam Darnold is the better quarterback.
For his wife's sake, I hope it's Sam Darnold too. But we spend all day on the quarterbacks. But one thing that really helps the quarterback is a great run game. So now get head over to the running backs. And this is where it gets interesting. Once again, if Zach Charbonnet was healthy, I think Seattle runs away with it, pun intended. But with him being injured and just being canine, I'm still going to give it to Seattle because the way they don't Travion Henderson's usage rate does not exist. It's Ramondre Stevenson versus canine in the playoff run, which I'm going to take canine 100 times out of 100. And I think he's going to get paid in a couple of months, as he should. He's outstanding. So give me the Seahawks with the running back advantage, even with Charbonnet out. unless Travion Henderson's going to look like Ohio State Travion Henderson, but we've seen that in one game this year, and that's because Stevenson was hurt. So give me K9 in Seattle.
Yeah. It wasn't even close for me
Hmm.
either. Look, I like Travion. I like what Ramondre Stevenson can do, but it's K9 and K9 all the way. I've been a K9 fan since he came into the league. Like, I'm not going to stop that just because. The only thing I hate is that Zach Charbonnet always sniped the first score touchdown every single time. So you know what? Zach Charbonnet is not in this game. So now I only have to worry about Rashid Shaheed taking the first touchdown for the Seahawks.
Well, so it's funny they mentioned Rashid Shaheed. Does that sound take us into the wide receiver room and tight ends? We're basically going to call this one pass catchers. I know that Jackson Smith and Jigba is by far and away the best pass catcher in this game, and it's not even close. Like there's like 35 feet of you know what before we get to whoever number 2 and 3 is. I feel like New England's receivers do get a little underrated because I feel like if you take away JSN, things get pretty even because Stephon Diggs has been really good this year. Not Stephon Diggs with the first year of Josh Allen per se, but he's been very good. Kayshon Boutte, for some reason, is always open deep. I don't know how he's always behind somebody. Doesn't matter if it's Derek Stingley or a milk check. He's always open deep. Pop Douglas pops here and there. Matt Collins, he's novelty and fun, but he blocks well, I guess. Whatever. Hunter Henry's still really good. But that's still, JSN is still on the team for Seattle. And that is a huge X factor. Cooper Kupp, limited in his old deteriorate, and not even really old age, but his body's really old with the injuries. And Rashid Shaheed is such a game breaker. Just get him the ball with even an inch of space. I'm willing to ignore the fact that he's a receiver wearing the number 22 just because of how explosive he is. So we're giving the edge to Seattle as well here because JSN is just so clearly far and away you can make a case the best receiver in football. And then Rashid Shaheed's an absolute game breaker. But I do want to give the nod to the Patriots pass catchers as well because I think they are a little bit underrated.
Yeah. So this was like there's one really, really good player in the room for one side, and then there's a whole bunch of really good guys on the other side. And especially since we're bringing tight ends into it, Hunter Henry equals this out for me. And it like honestly, you take JSN out, who's the number one wide receiver, and it's not even close. Your next receiver is 39th in the league. And then the one after that is 76, and then 57th for your fourth receiver for their talent as far as the depth chart goes. The Patriots, on the other hand, much different conversation. Every single, or at least the top two, are in the top 50, 22 and 44. And then you start Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins, Demario Douglas, Pop Douglas. They're all 60s and below. I mean, Mac Hollins is 56. Hunter Henry is 6th, though. And unfortunately, the Seahawks can't do anything to compare with that at the tight end range. AJ Barner's is 12, Elijah Arroyo at 61st. It's Hunter Henry is the great equalizer as all things. He's been the reason Drake May is an MVP candidate. And honestly, I think he could be a difference maker in the Super Bowl if he gets the chance. So Hunter Henry kind of equals this out for me, despite JSN's greatness and Cooper Kupp's ballability, I guess I will say. I look at this one as the Patriots as well. I mean, it's just pass catcher all around. Makes sense.
Stupid stat that nobody asked for that I learned recently. If JSN gets 35 yards in the Super Bowl, he will be, I think, the third player to get 2,000 yards in a season, including the playoffs. Third receiver, excuse me. The other two, Cooper Kupp, his teammate in this one, and Puka Nacua this year. Surprisingly, he cracked the 2,000 yard mark because he had the wild card game plus he had the extra games to do it compared to JSN, but still. Random fun fact nobody asked for. So JSN looking at history in the face, but we talked about the fancy, pretty guys on the outside. Now to get to Kelsey's favorite position on the entire field, the big boys on the offensive line. Kelsey, you can lead the way on this one.
Yeah. I love a lot of the potential for the Patriots offensive line. I do. I think there's a lot of talent there. But I just took the running back for Seattle. And you know who paves the way for the running back? Oh, that's the offensive line. And that tells me that there's a better offensive line in Seattle, in my opinion, than there is in New England. Hate me if you want. I don't care. I'm going with the Seahawks in this one. I just think from the tackle position, better overall tackles on both sides. I think the guards can kind of break even. The center is the big difference maker. I think it is negligible in some cases, but I think the Patriots do have a slightly better center. But I think the tackles are just so good for the Seahawks. It's hard to look any other way and be like, oh, yeah, this could be a Patriots. Nope. For me, it's the Seahawks every single time. You got to run the ball to win in the NFL. And we're going to watch a very, very hard nosed run team in the Seahawks lead the way.
I gotta say, one thing that's interesting is neither offensive line has been great. They've been very good. Like, it's not like the top 3 offensive line unit for either team, and they do their best work when they're running the ball, coming off play action, as was mentioned. When they're in pure drop back situation, it can sometimes get a little spotty. We've seen Will Campbell's been picked on by a lot of people because he's had a rough playoffs because he's gone against Will Anderson, Nick Bonito, and JT Tuilopo. Like, he's had his hands full with those guys, but I'm going to give the slight edge to the Seahawks as well. I think 3rd and 7 is going to be a demon for both of these offensive lines to deal with. And I don't think either one, both offense, like, how do we avoid 3rd and 7 plus? Just don't give us in a situation where our offensive line is going to be having to deal with those other guys pinning their ears straight back. So I will give that to the Seahawks because I think they are a little more controlling in the run game. The one year they pick an offensive lineman in the first round, like a guard, and Gray Zabel, and this is what happens. That's got to be some good mojo. Getting someone like Gray Zabel is wonderful. So we're going to give the edge to the Seahawks, but a close one. I think it's closer than it should be.
Yeah, look, if you'd asked me mid-season, I would have told you the Patriots because through 6 weeks they were the best offensive line. But
they also didn't face any pass rushers.
Yeah, things happen down the road. So that's the ultimate equalizer.
Actually, that's not true. They did face Max Crosby week 1, so I don't want to disrespect Mad Max like that. They did lose that game, but I digress. So we're going to move now to the opposite side. We're going to go with the front sevens. We're talking now linebackers, edge, tackles. We're just putting them all in the one because they use so many damn multiple fronts. It's pointless to try and say edge, tackle, whatever. So this is really, I think it's surprisingly close again as well. I think I'm actually give the edge to the Patriots. I think Seattle has better maybe individual players. Like I look at DeMarcus Lawrence, used to be nicknamed Tank, 19 sacks one year. Outstanding. He has revitalized this. Byron Murphy, Leonard Williams. Individual players, I think they're a little bit better. I'm going to give the slight edge to the Patriots because for some reason, as a cohesive unit, they just seem to get it done. They were a top 3 rush defense all year. Milton Williams, my goodness, maybe the Eagles should have found a way to keep him. I know they couldn't because they have the entire Georgia front line on there. But my goodness, has he been a revelation for him? They find just unique ways to get after it. They are better than the sum of their parts as a whole. So I'm going to give a slight edge to the Patriots, although Seattle has better individual defensive players for sure. Plus Ernest Jones, like it's weird. Just see, the Patriots are just so much better than the sum of their parts. It doesn't really make sense. It's almost like a no-name front seven. It's a callback to the no-name defense for the old people who know.
Yeah, I was also torn on this one. A lot more though than a lot of other positions. But I had to pull up some statistics to help me out with this one. The pressure rate for the Seahawks was the 7th best in the NFL this season at 39.9%. The no blitz pressure rate, wow, words, 35.8%. And the rush stuff rate, 20%. And if you rank that, I believe it's top 10 for the rush stuff rate, which is an incredible thing to do. Top 15, sorry. Patriots also rank in the top 15 for 2 of the 3 of those. But it doesn't equal out. I was torn because of the linebacker situation at the end of the day. So I'm going to go with the Seahawks, and it's just barely. I mean, honestly, my note is literally Seahawks, ... but maybe not. So we're just going to go with the Seahawks just to make it different. Why not?
I get that. You can't. I think if you went player by player, Seattle would win. I think when you look at some of those,
it's close though.
Yeah,
it's like, I mean, every stat I just named off, the Seahawks are just slightly better, except for the rush stuff rate, which the Patriots. Well, no, they're actually incredibly better than the Patriots. 18.9 for the Patriots, 20% for the Seahawks. So it's very close though. I mean, it really is.
Absolutely. Next, we're gonna head to the toughest position. I think one of the tougher position groups is the secondary too, because both teams you can make a case are 2 of the 4 best secondaries in football. They've been outstanding. New England's, especially in the playoffs, Christian Gonzalez being healthy, they've cranked it up to another level. Seattle, outstanding as well. There's also the question of, does the secondary make the front seven? Does the front seven make the secondary? Well, that's all up for debate, I guess. But in the same vein, I'm going to go with Seattle's secondary by a slight margin. I do think in the same vein, New England, Christian Gonzalez is a top 5 corner. They got some really good players. I think Seattle's just not Legion of Boom because we're not going to be overzealous and start doing that and start giving it historical nicknames. But Devin Witherspoon is the best nickel corner in the game right now, and he doesn't even have to play nickel. He's an outstanding corner on the edge. Nick Eamon-Wari as a nickel safety, just get on the field and make plays. He's outstanding. Julian Love's outstanding. Tariq Woolen's fine when he's not getting stupid penalties or randomly getting toasted for someone who runs a 4.3 at 6'3". They're just really, really good, and they're sticky. They are really sticky. I think they're a little bit better in zone coverage is what I give them to. I think New England can match them man-to-man coverage, but I do think zone Seattle does such a good job reading the eyes and attacking. So we're going to give the edge to Seattle for no other reason. I think they got a little versatility and a little bit more game-changing ability, where I think for New England, Marcus Jones, obviously we know him as a punt returner, but he's also a really good corner. Christian Gonzalez is outstanding, but I'm going to give a slight edge to Seattle secondary.
Yeah, you left one corner out of the equation, and I gotta say I'm kind of appalled out of this one for the Patriots that you missed this guy. Carlton Davis Carlton Davis the third. He
That's because
is
you're the Auburn guy. We established this. I give you a
well,
bone somewhere. Like,
I,
do you want me to name every single player? Then you
no,
got nothing.
I look at the Patriots secondary and it's hard to look past their corners. Their starting corners, their top two are top tier. I think they might be the best duo right now. And I think going these playoffs, especially, they have been the hands down best duo. I think the equalizer or the thing that makes it a lot closer is the Josh Jobe, Julian Love combo in the secondary safety situation for the Seahawks versus you're looking at Craig Woodson and Jalen Hawkins, who are both very solid on the Patriots. And it's do those two outweigh Josh Jobe and Julian Love outweigh the high quality tiers above that Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez are above everything else. And I think when you add Marcus Jones into the equation, I think the corners are better for the Patriots and the safeties are better for the Seahawks. But I think 3-2, I'm going to use basic math here. There's three corners. You have a nickelback in Marcus Jones. So 3-2, I'm going to rank them higher than the secondary for the Seahawks. But this is also like a ... but maybe not situation. I'm splitting hairs, and I might be leaning because the Auburn guy, Nehemiah Pritchett's on the Seahawks, though, so it's not too much that I'm splitting here. But yeah, I'm just gonna. Why not? We'll say the Patriots have the better secondary because I really do like Carlton Davis and Christian Gonzalez, and then I like Marcus Jones as well. I like the. Don't get me wrong, the Seahawks defense, top to bottom, I'm a big fan of, but this is probably the one defensive backfield, the secondary backfield, I can look at and be like, all right, I can be comfortable saying it's the Patriots.
Well, I think it's very interesting too. So, in my opinion, Christian Gonzalez is cornerback 1. Devin Witherspoon is the second best cornerback on the field, and then Carlton Davis is 3. Then Marcus Jones 4. So 3 out of the 4 go to the Patriots comfortably. Even if you want to say Carlton Davis above Devin Witherspoon, either way, 3 out of 4 go to the Patriots. When it comes to safety, Nicky Manwari, Julian Love, like it's
well, I mean,
it's
even Maury is technically questionable right now, so he might not even play.
Oh, he'll play. I mean, he left the last game. He'll be playing. He left.
Also, Kobe Bryant is technically their starter too, and not even Maury, and that's also part of this.
Nicky Manwari's on the field all the time though. Like he's used as a linebacker, nickel, safety. Like
yeah, he's their nickelback guy. He's their Marcus Jones.
He's nickel. He's safety. He's linebacker. He's just baller. He's basically the user player on Madden. That's all he is. It doesn't matter what you list him as. He's roaming in his fire yellow zone and crushing people, which talked about Drake May running. Hopefully they don't have Eamon Ward as a spy, because if that's the case, Drake may just go down. Don't do it. It's not worth it. Don't play that game. But next up, we're going to go to the coaching staffs. This one gets really interesting too. Clint Kubiak will be a head coach for the Raiders after this game as well. Patriots, Josh McDaniels has been a head coach for worse and for worse, but has been a very good offense coordinator. Then, of course, Mike Vrabel versus Mike McDonald. First time in the Super Bowl as head coaches for both of them. Closer than it should be, honestly. Closer than it should be. I'm still going to give the edge to Vrabel because he's done it a little bit longer. I think he's just a little bit longer. And Mike McDonald's like a young prodigy on the web. He's going to be out. If you told me next year going in, I think he's a top 5 coach next year. But right now for this game, I'm going to give Vrabel the edge. And I think just the experience edge. That's really the only thing that's overall differentiating. It's just being able to have been in those moments, having been able to outfox Bill Belichick in that 2019 playoff game with the running clock. Just he's seen a lot of those things, and if anything comes to a coaching shenanigans, I think he'd be the one to come out on top. So we're going to give Vrabel the edge for coaches.
Yeah, that's fair.
Assuming he stays intact.
Look, first of all, shout out to DC Terrell Williams, T. Will. Will be on the sidelines for the Super Bowl, which is really cool. Nobody's seen what happened. Just go look it up. It's all over the news. It happens, this happens feels like every Super Bowl. You see one of these stories that was kind of hidden by the media. Um, I think the overall, if you look at this, like there's more recognizable names on the Patriots roster or on the Patriots coaching staff. You have Ben McAdoo as a defensive assistant. You have Scott Booker, Zach Kerr, guys that you've seen around. I mentioned T. Will, Justin Hamilton. These are guys that you recognize. Offensively, Chucky Keaton, we all know about. Riley Larkin, um, Thomas Brown, Doug Marrone. Like these guys, you've heard this, especially from the offensive line perspective. You've heard of who Doug Marrone is. You know who Doug Marrone is from an offensive line standpoint as a coach. And then you have Josh McDaniels and you have Vrabel. You know they can do something. For the Seahawks staff, it's very young, but very experienced, still the same. Jay Harbaugh is on their coaching staff. Clint Kubiak. One guy that never gets mentioned that has done a fantastic job is Aiden Dirty, and their DC. Josh Bynes, talk about an Auburn guy. Mac Brown, but not that Mac Brown. I just want to throw his name out there. But these guys all have experience. I mean, they have a run game coordinator with 29 years of experience in Rick Dennison. The guy's been around for so long. He watched Roger Craig run the sidelines, and now he's watching K9 run the sidelines. I think top to bottom, if we were just to go off of pure recognition and talent, it is the Patriots as a coach. But I'll be honest and say that the young, I don't want to say inexperienced Seahawks coaches, but they might be the difference maker when it comes to this game. They don't care. We've talked about this all the time. Naivety in a Super Bowl or a championship can make the difference for every positive reason, but they're also balanced with like a Leslie Frazier, with guys who have been there. So screw it. You said the Patriots. I'm going to go the other way. I'm going to go the Seahawks because I think there's more future potential and future head coaches coming out of the Seahawks coaching staff than I do from the Patriots. And nothing against the Patriots, just like it is what it is. Plus,
The Raiders sure hope so. That's for sure. Otherwise,
yeah.
they're going to be good. Otherwise, same old song. Fernando Mendoza probably hopes so too. That's for sure. But
Yeah.
we've gone through it position by position. Coaches have flipped every rock. We've uncovered every stone. Time to make a pick for the Super Bowl. Kelsey, lead the way. Who are you taking? And go and give us a score too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's any surprise that I'm going to say the Seattle Seahawks is who my Super Bowl champions are. If you've listened to me for the last 25 minutes, I don't blame you if you didn't, though. But if you didn't, if you did, you knew I was going to go the Seahawks here. But I'm going Seahawks, and I'm going to go with a 24-20 scoreline.
All right. You got an MVP pick for us too while you're at it?
Oh, Sammy D. California Sam. He's Sunshine Sam, whatever you want to call him. Yeah, he's the guy.
The journey is now complete. He has come full circle from the team that had him seeing ghosts to now taking the Super Bowl and making it happen. Like the ultimate, the story they'd write in Hollywood if Hollywood didn't suck, what you're saying.
Yeah, the Jets fans might also love him even more for that number 3 overall pick. They might be okay with everything.
Well, let's not get too.
Hey, it would be a Patriots not winning the Super Bowl, so the Jets fans all celebrate that.
It'd be like the 4th best option I could go for. Like it's like this isn't the best thing we could hope for, but you know what? We'll take it.
It's the second It's the next closest to the whole Super Bowl being canceled for whatever reason.
My mind tells the Seahawks. My heart wants the Seahawks. Everybody and their mom is picking the Seahawks and says, "Do the Patriots have a chance?" And I don't love this because the Patriots have broken my heart for 20 years. So if anyone saw our preseason predictions, you know exactly where I'm going with this. I'm gonna take the Patriots to win, and I think it's gonna be defensive. I think it's gonna be ugly. I think we're gonna be pissy at the end of it. We're gonna go Patriots 17, Seahawks 13. Neither team's gonna crack 20. We're taking the under. Both quarterbacks are gonna be miserable and turn the ball over ad nauseum. The defensive fronts are going to stop the run, so we're not even going to get like a K9 explosion or a Travion Henderson breakaway. We're going to get a Ramondre Stevenson fumble, and it's not going to change anything. JSN's going to get like 33 yards just to piss us off because of the stat I threw out there earlier. Rashid Shaheed's going to have a touchdown called back or something silly. It's going to be an annoying game that we're all going to hate. And for MVP, it's going to be even more obnoxious. It's going to be Harold Landry III. It's going to be a defensive player getting a Super Bowl MVP from like 2 sacks, a forced fumble recovery, that sort of thing. It's going to be an obnoxious Super Bowl that's going to make then no one's going to predict. But I'm going to take the Patriots to just ruin everything because now once people finally stop doubting Sam Darnold is when the demons come back. I hate it and I hope I'm wrong, but I've seen this story play out before and I don't like it and I'm not happy about it. And I hope I'm reverse psychologying this like I did with the Chiefs in our preseason prediction. But I'll even put money on it. Patriots win 17-13 with a defensive player as MVP.
I just should point out that our podcast, when it comes to picking defensive MVPs for a Super Bowl, is over 1.
It's been close, though.
It has been far too close every time. It is the winning team though that usually that we're still correct on the winning team, just never on the Super Bowl MVP in those situations. I'm looking at you, Nick Bolton.
Well, look, he did his best. Like I said, he did everything he could, and that he was on the winning team and made the plays. Unfortunately, Patrick's gonna get the nod.
Yeah.
Actually, you know what? Patrick played good in that Super Bowl. I can't.
Yeah, no, I mean, I can't deny that, but at the same time, so angry because that was one of the best like Super Bowl MVP picks I could have ever made in my life, and it was actually coming true. And I was like, this is the moment. I could put this on a reel, and I can redeem myself for any bad ones I've said before, similar to what I did with Nick Bonito. But you know what?
Those who know, they know. But let us know down below if our picks are outrageous, if they're stupid, and you know what your picks are and what your breakdown thoughts are as well. But let us know down below. But that's not going to take us into Kelsey's favorite part of every show. That is, of course, crunch time. And for crunch time, it's not going to be a happy ending for the show, unfortunately, as it looks like Robert Kraft is going to be joining Bill Belichick and be denied Hall of Fame this year. And I'll start with the two parts of it. Part A, actually three parts. Part A, if owners are going to get into the Hall of Fame, which I think is a little bit silly, but I get it, he should get in. Jerry Jones is in the Hall of Fame, so like get Robert Kraft in there. Part two, owners being in there still feels weird, I guess. But part two is I don't hate this considering when they said Bill's not getting in. My exact wording was, all right, if Bill's not going to get in, then you can't get Robert Kraft in too, because like that's just stupid at this point, because I feel like you can't put one in if the other one doesn't. They're kind of joined at the hip with everything they've done. And if they're really quote unquote punishing for Spygate or any of that stuff, then Robert Kraft has to be included for that. Are they? I doubt it. I think that the voting system is just stupid as far as how they do it. So where you have to get 40 out of 50 votes, there's only so many to go around. So if a couple of people are slightly off, then it throws everything for a whack. So I think that's the main issue. Then part three, can we fix that? Can we just fix that moving forward? Are we just can we just next year, let's just throw in those two, Tom Brady, throw in Richard Seymour, throw in somebody else who's not in there, just make it a full Patriots run next year. Just get it over with. Just have 5 Patriots go to the Hall of Fame next year from those dynasty teams. Let's just rip the Band-Aid off and get it over with.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, we kind of knew this was coming after the Belichick thing, right? So if you guys missed the episode where we talked Belichick and why he got snubbed and our feelings on that one, you heard me explain the whole situation with Belichick and why he got snubbed with the senior finalist rule. You're only allowed to pick 3 out of the potential finalists. Well, the one thing I didn't know about that, and I said it wrong in that episode, but to correct myself here, Robert Kraft was also considered in that senior finalist. You're only allowed to pick 3. So the question is, those 2 didn't make it. Who makes it? And they're said. And they're players that made it. Let's start there. And I think that's a differentiation between them. But Ken Anderson from the Bengals, we all know who Ken Anderson is. If you don't, I'd maybe look up a book from the Bengals any point in time. He was the second best quarterback for the Bengals prior to Joe Burrow. So
if you also don't want to look at the history of the Bengals, I don't blame you either.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I don't blame you either. Elsie Greenwood, if you've ever heard anything about the Steelers, yeah. Yes. Part of the Steel Curtain. And then last one, and this is probably, in my opinion, I think maybe the more debatable of the group, Roger Craig, running back, 49ers, Raiders, Vikings. Yeah, so also a fullback. So, one of those guys that like he kind of was on that cusp of like, yeah, he probably should be a Hall of Famer, but also at what point in time are we Hall of Really Great versus Hall of Fame? And I know JJ or DJ, I just kind of stole your phrasing because I know you use that all the time, the Hall of Great. But yeah, I can't hate who got in, but at the same time, I'm like, just give the guys the credit. Also, if you're gonna blame Roger Kraft, like if you're gonna kick Belichick out, we already knew Kraft wasn't gonna get in because Kraft has a lot more legal issues in his background than Belichick did. So you kind of knew that was going to be the case. But yeah, so just fix it. Just unlimited choices for the senior finalists. They got to still get maybe 35 or 38 out of the 50. Just leave it at that. Call it swell. Move on with our lives. Let's just get them in the Hall of Fame. We already have a lot more worse people in the Hall of Fame. However you want to rank them as worse people. They're all, yes, worse still. And we'll probably have worse people still get in the Hall of Fame in the future. It doesn't make it better or worse, but at the same time, if you're going to penalize one, you needed to penalize all the other guys for all the other bad things they did, and you didn't. So you have 80 years of precedence that shows that you shouldn't penalize these guys, and yet you still did. And I'm not a Patriots sympathizer. Let me be very clear. about that, especially not this era of the Patriots. So the fact I'm on Bill Belichick and Robert Kraft's side in this one, I probably should tell you how egregious this was. So yeah,
I'm going to take the route of instead of unlimited for the senior vote in, just take out the senior vote in altogether at this point. At this point, if you get to that, if it takes that long to get voted in, it's probably Hall of Very Great as opposed to Hall of Fame, more or less. And it makes things a little weird. And I think coaches should be in, it needs to just maybe expand how many people get in per year to like 7 potential just to balance it out. But it's weird to me. Sometimes I know some people like say if you have to think about it, then you're not a Hall of Famer. I won't go that far. That's dramatic. But I think
yeah,
there's a little something in there where it's like, all right, maybe you don't get in the first couple, but at the same time,
yeah.
Kelsey Greenwood shouldn't still be out. He should have been a long time ago. Like, let's not get that twisted.
It-
I agree.
the,
But
the senior thing should be for the mistakes. Like they should be for the mistakes that this person was being voted in during one of the hardest periods of defensive linemen to ever get voted in type of situation. Not this is one of the all-time great coaches and GMs and owners of all times.
maybe they have one senior person voted in each year where they could pick from the pool or something like that. Somebody's been snubbed so many times. Maybe
Yeah.
and then they have to get a certain amount of votes still to get there. So that way it's not, I don't know. It shouldn't be costing other guys. Like if Bill Belichick's not a first ballot Hall of Fame coach, no coach is a first ballot Hall of Fame
Yeah.
coach. They
Yeah.
that there's no, not yet at least. Anything could happen in the future, but it's tomfoolery. It's weird. And the NFL Hall of Fame is one of the few ones left that has a bit of exclusivity feel to it still.
This
Like
isn't the NBA.
the basketball Hall of Fame there's levels to the Hall of Fame and there's a lot of levels, but like getting into the hall is a lot more doable. Baseball
I
Hall
can
of Fame
Basketball Hall of Fame. So
baseball. Well, we know we're not the least athletic podcast, so there's a chance. The baseball Hall of Fame better than the NBA's, but still a little bit more inclusive by comparison, I'd say, unless you're a gambler, but that's a different story. NFL, that one, well, as we can see, this is how exclusive it can get because there's a lot more players and very few options. But hopefully they don't make it weird moving forward. Hopefully they don't make it weird, but we'll go and see. But that's going to do it this week for the High Low Sports Podcast. We appreciate y'all so much for joining us. Have a happy, fun, safe Super Bowl and get home safely. Don't drink and drive. Bet smarter, not harder. Only bet what you can afford to lose. It's tempting to take all of those offerings they're offering you, all of those different parlays and deals and bonus bets, etc. There's a reason they're offering to you. So bet smarter, not harder. Don't bet.
just take the tails and the coin flip. Tails never fails.
You heard the man. And if it's heads, well, it was him who said it, not me.
If you lost the coin toss, don't bet anymore.
That's how you get off. If you win the coin toss, keep it rolling. If you lose the coin toss, you're done. Enjoy the game. But Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you all again